Hey friends, what's up? And welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Tesvav, Daf 15 of Masechta Taanis. Friends, what do you guys think that today's Daf talks about? It talks about fast days. We're going to start the second parak of Masechta Taanis, and we're going to talk about fast days. Well, let's get started. So it says the Mishnah, beginning of parak, the second parak, say the Tanios Ketzar. So what happens on these fast days? So they take out the ark to the streets of the city, and they put ashes on top of the ark, and on the heads of, they would put ashes on the head of the Nasi and the head of the Bezdin, who's in charge of the courts, I guess. And then each and every individual fellow would put ashes on his head. Okay? And then the elder among them would say things to kind of, get the people to get very emotional. Brethren, lo nemar ba'anshe ninve vayar elokim hesakum v'stainisum. It doesn't say. I feel like I'm reading Moby Dick now, very slowly. I tried once to read Moby Dick before, and at a certain point, I kind of fell off the boat. No pun intended. It got a little bit complicated. I wasn't expecting such a slow read, so I'm trying it a second time now. I'm also running out of other things to read. And anyway, so there's a whole thing over there with the preacher. He's talking about Yonah. Anyways, so it says over here, so also I guess Yonah is a fellow that you can get very compassionate about. It talks about tshuva and things like that. Anyways, so in the precursor to Moby Dick, the Mishnah in Taanis explains that by Yonah, it doesn't say Vayar Elokim Esaikim V'Stanisim. It doesn't say that the Eibishter saw that they put on costumes, that they put on sackcloth and they didn't eat for a day. That's not what the pasuk says. Vayar Elokim Es Maiseim. The Eibishter saw their actions. Ki shavu midarkam hara, that they returned from their evil ways. That's what the Eibishter cares about. It's cute that we put on the sackcloth and fasting, but the real indication is ultimately the actions. In Kabbalah Omer, it says in the Novi, tear your hearts, not your clothing. I want you to tear your heart. Friends, how do you tear your heart? Omdu b'tfila. Now they get up to pray. Moridin l'fnei teva. And so they install as the chazan, as the shliach tzibur, zaken, a fellow who's old, v'rogil, and knows how to daven, so he's not going to make mistakes. V'yesh lo banim, this fellow has children, uveis orekam, and doesn't have any money. Kadei she'eh libo shalom b'tfila, so that he's really going to daven hartzig, he's going to daven with a lot of kavanah. V'omer l'fnein, and he says before them, esim v'arba brachis, 24 blessings. Yudches sheb'chol yom, the 18 that we say every day, the Shmoneh Esrei Mosef Alei and Od Sheish, and then he adds another 6. Now, the Gemara is going to explain that everything that we're talking about over here is really on the last 7 of the fasts, that they take out the ark and they say these extra 6 blessings. Ve'eluhei, and these are them. Zichronos v'shofaris, like on Rosh Hashanah, we say, right, Malchus, Zichronos v'shofaris. So here, Oichit, on the fast day, they would say Zichronos and Shofaris. El Hashem batzarosuli karosi vayaneni, that to the Eibishter, when I was in a difficult time, I called out and he answered me. Eso'ena Eloharim v'gomer, I lift up my eyes to the mountains, from whence will my help come from? Mimay makim kasicha Hashem, from the depths I call out to you, God. Tfilu ani kiyatov, as well as a prayer to the poor fellow when he wraps himself to pray. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Rabbi Yehuda says they wouldn't say Zichronos and Shofaris Ella, rather Omer Tachtein Rov Kiya Ba'aretz Dever Kiyiyeh, rather they would say the pasuk of when there's famine in the land, when there's pestilence. Asher Hayud V'Hashem al Yirmiyahu al Divrei Batzaros, as well as the pasuk as that the word of God was to Jeremiah regarding famines. And then they say the corresponding brachas for each of these verses that we just quoted. Al Rishona for the first one, so that would be according to the Tanakama, Zichronis, so actually this one, who Omer Mishanis Avram Bahar Moria, who Yaina Eschem Vishmo B'Kol Tzaikasim Hayamazah Berchata Hashem Goel Yisrael. So the Gemara is going to point out that actually this first one that we're listing right now actually was not one of the six, because this is Berchata Hashem Goel Yisrael. Goel Yisrael is just one of the regular blessings of Shemona Esrei. But anyways, as we're going to see in a second, that we're going to be listing 7 over here. So really the first one that we just read is just a regular bracha of Goel Yisrael and Shemona Esrei. However, they would extend it with these sort of extension of the bracha. So again, Vomer, he says, Chosmein, the conclusions ala Rishonos. So the first one that he begins to extend, who Omer, he says, Mishanis Avram Bar Moriah, God who answered Abraham on Mount Moriah, who Yaina Eschem, he will answer you as well. Bishma B'Kol Tzaikaschem, he will listen to your cries. Hayom Hazeh, on this day, Baruch Hashem Goel Yisrael, blessed are you, God, the Redeemer of Israel. Al Shnir Omer, he says in the second one, Misha'anes Avosenu Al Yamsuf, God who answered our fathers at the Sea of Reeds, who Yaina Eschem, he will answer you as well. Bishma Kol Tzaikaschem Hayom Hazeh, and he will listen to the voice of your cries on this day. Baruch Hashem Zocher Aneshkachos, blessed is God who remembers that which is forgotten. So that is the Zichronis. Al Shlishis Omer says regarding the third one, Misha'anes Yoshua Bagilgol, the Eibishter who answered Joshua at Gilgal by Jericho, which of course was with shofaros, as we learned yesterday. Hu Yaina Eschem, he will answer you v'yishma, and listen b'kol tzaikaschem v'yom hazeh, to the sounds of your cries on this day. Baruch Hashem Shmei Trua, blessed are you, God, who hears the blasts, the shofar blasts. Al Arviyas Omer, he says regarding the fourth one, Mishana Shmuel b'mitzvah, the Eibushu answers Shmuel in Mitzvah, who Yaina Eschem Vishma B'Kol Tzaikaschem Hayom Hazeh, he will answer you and listen to the voice of your cries on this day. Baruch Hashem Shemei Tzaika, blessed are you, God, who listens to cries. Al Achmishus Omer, he says regarding the fifth, Mishanis Eliyahu Bar Carmel, he who answered Elijah on the mountain of Carmel, who Yaina Eschem, he will answer you Vishma B'Kol Tzaikaschem Hayom Hazeh, he will listen to the voice, the sound of your cries on this day. Baruch Hashem Shemei Tefillah, blessed are you, God, who listens to prayers. Oh, there's our friend, the paper boy, riding off into the night. Al Ashishus Omer, and he says regarding the sixth blessing, Mishanas Yonah Mimea Adoga, the Eibushu answered Jonah in the intestines of the fish. Huyane Eschem, he will answer you, Vishma B'Kol Tzaikaschem Hayom Hazeh, and he will listen to the voice of your cries on this day. Baruch Hashem Ha'onu Beis Tzara, blessed are you, God, who answers at a time of how should we translate tzara? Of tzaris. He should answer you at a time of tzaris. Al Shvius who Omer, he says regarding to the seventh one, Mishana is David, Veshlomo b'Yerushalayim, he who answered David and Shlomo in Jerusalem, he will answer you and listen to the voice of your cries on this day. Blessed are you, God, who has mercy and compassion on the land. Alright, friends, that was cool, right? Let's go weiter. Maise, there's a story. You ready for a story? Reb Chalafta, who is Reb Chalafta? Reb Yossi's father. Reb Yossi ben Chalafta's father. Reb Hanani ben Trajan. Who is Reb Hanani ben Trajan? Bruria's father. Bruria, of course, was married to Reb Nachman. Whoa, that's insanity. No, what am I talking about? Bruria was married to Reb Meir. Bruria was married to Reb Meir. Was Reb Meir's wife. And her father was Reb Hanani ben Trajan. He was also one of the Asara Arugim Malchus. Now, so there's a story in the days of Reb Chalafta and Reb Hanani ben Trajan, Sha'avar Echad Lifnei Ateva, that a certain fellow was the Shliach Tzibur on a fast, V'gomer Sabracha, and he completed the blessing, Kula, entirely, okay? V'lo anu acharav Amen, and they didn't say after him, Amen, okay? One second, there's a letter here. What does it say? Ela Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuso L'Olam Va'ed. Instead of saying Amen, like we do, they said Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuso L'Olam Va'ed, which is what they would do in the Beis HaMikdash. Tiku HaKohanim V'taku, they said, okay, priests, blast the shofar, and they blasted. Misha'anes Avram Avinu B'Har Moriah Hu Yana Eschem Vishma B'Kol Tzaykaschem Hayamazeh. And then they said, he who answered Abraham, our father, on Mount Moriah, he will answer you and listen to the sound of your cries on this day. Hariu b'nei Aharon Hariu. Then they said, blow a trua, the sons of Aharon, and they did. Mishanas Avosinu al Yamsuf hu yana eschem vishmo b'kol tzaykasim hayamazeh. He who listened to our fathers, who answered our fathers at the Sea of Reeds, he will hear your voice and answer you on this day. And when the rabbis found out about this, found out about what? That Reb Chalafta and Reb Chananya ben Trajan, they were not saying Amen. Rather, they were saying Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuso L'Olam Va'ed. So the rabbi said, Lo hayinu noagim kein el b'shar mizrach v'arbayis. Saying Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuso L'Olam Va'ed after a bracha instead of Amen, they would only do that in the Beis HaMikdash. Nowadays, we say Amen. Shalosh Taanis HaRishonos, the first three fasts, okay, remember there was 3, 3, and 7. So the first three fasts, Anshe Mishmar Misanim V'lo Mashlimin. So the Anshe Mishmar, who could tell me what the Anshe Mishmar are? Anshe Mishmar were that the Kohanim were divided into 26 Mishmaros, 26 groups essentially, and each group would serve Chavdalad Mishmaros, 24 Mishmaros. And each read, I remember we had the Shiloh once, and I think I had the same back and forth. No, Chavdalad Mishmaros, 24 Mishmaros. And each Mishmar would serve 1 week of the year. Okay? And then every week was divided into 7 Batei Avis, a Beis Av. And each Beis Av would serve 1 day of the week in the temple. So what do you want me to tell you? So the Mishmar was sort of the weekly group, and the Beis Av was the daily group. Okay? Now, Shalosh Taanis HaRishonos, so when it comes to the first three fasts, Anshe Mishmar Misanim V'lo Mashlimin, so the people in the Mishmar, so the people whose week it was to serve, but weren't necessarily serving that day, weren't necessarily working in the Beis HaMikdash that day, so Misanim V'lo Mashlimin, they would fast, but they wouldn't complete the fast, just in case they needed to be on hand to help out. V'anshe Beis Av Lo Hayu Misanim Klal. Now the people in the Beis Av, the people who were working in the Beis HaMikdash that day, whose role it was and responsibility was to work that day, so they would not fast at all for the first three fasts. Shalosh Shnios, when it comes to the second three fasts, Anshe Mishmar Misanin Umashlimin, so the Mishmar people, they fast the entire fast. Anshe Beis Av Misanin V'lo Mashlimin, and the people in the Beis Av, so they would fast, but they would not complete the fast. Shavachronis, when it came to the last 7, Elu V'elu Misanin Umashlimin Tiv Rabbi Yoshua, when it comes to the 7 fasts, because there still has not been rain, so then both the Anshe Mishmar and the Anshe Beis Av will fast the entire fast. That is Rabbi Yeshua's opinion. Whereas the Chacham disagree with Rabbi Yeshua, and they say Shalosh Taanis HaRishonos, when it comes to the first three fasts, Elu V'elu Lo Hayu Misanim Klal, both the Anshe Mishmar and the Anshe Maimed would not, and the Beis Av, the Anshe Mishmar and the Anshe Beis Av, nobody would be fasting. Shalosh Shnios, when it comes to the second group of 3, Anshe Mishmar Misanim V'lo Mashlimin, so the people of the Mishmar whose week it is to serve, but not necessarily whose day it is to serve, they would fast but not complete it. Anshe Beis Av Lo Hayu Misanim Klal, and the people who were working in the temple that day, they still would not fast at all. Shavachronis, when it came to this last 7 fasts, Anshe Mishmar Misanim Mashlimin, Anshe Beis Av Misanim V'lo Mashlimin, the last 7 fasts, so the people whose week it was to serve, so they would fast and complete the fast, but the people whose day it was to serve, they would fast but not complete the fast. That's for the last 7 fasts, when things are getting particularly severe. Anshe Mishmar Mutar Lishtos Yain Baleilis, the people whose week it is to serve in the temple so they could drink wine at night, not during the day in case they have to help out, but at night they don't have to be too concerned about being called in for an emergency, so they could drink wine at night. Avalo bayomim, but not during the days. Banshi Beisav, the people who are working that day, lo bayom v'lo balayla, they cannot drink wine during the day, obviously, because they're working, but even at night, because whatever korbanos need to, weren't completed during the day, still need to be burnt, right? They have to be at least put on the mizbeach during the day, but, if they weren't, completely burnt yet, so they have to deal with them at night, so therefore the people of the Beisav would not drink wine that night either. Anshe Mishmar, Anshe Maimud, the people of the Mishmar as well as the people of the Maimud. Friends, what's the people of the Maimud? Who's the Anshe Maimud? Rashi says it's the concept of the Anshe Maimud was that, well, if you have in the Beis Hamikdash they're going to be offering sacrifices every day, how could it possibly be that they're going to be offering sacrifices and there's nobody there to stand next to them and to sort of pray at that time and to be available? It can't just be that you have the Kohanim in the Beis Hamikdash offering sacrifices and nobody's there to care about it. So the Anshe Maimid are the people who are our representatives, who are representative of the people to care about the korbanos that are being offered, and they pray and they sort of do different things, as we're going to learn in the last parak of Masechta Taanis, while the korbanos are being offered. Rashi says it was a group of Kohanim, Levim, and Yisraelim. They would be this Anshe Maimid, these people would be praying at the time of the korbanos. So asun milasapir milchabes. So anybody who's basically working in the Beis Hamikdash, right? The people in that week's Mishmar, the people in the Maimud, so they would not get a haircut during the week that they were serving the temple, because the point is that we want them to be getting a haircut before they come to the temple, right? We want that. You're going to say, well, I can't get a haircut while I'm working, so I better get one in preparation before I come. Now, no matter what, on Thursday they would be allowed to get haircuts out of honor for Shabbos that is coming. All of these days that are written in Megillas Taanis that we've been hearing about recently, to lo lemispid, that on the days that we don't eulogize, right? So every day that's written, that's recorded in Megillas Taanis, so you don't fast on those days. There are Yom Tif, you don't fast. Now there are certain days which are particularly special that in addition to not fasting, you also don't eulogize. So any day recorded in Megillas Taanis that we don't eulogize in that day, so lefanav also lacharav mutter, also the day before that day, you're not allowed to eulogize, but the day after you are permitted. Rabbi Yossi Omer lefanav lacharav also, whereas Rabbi Yossi says, no, you're not allowed to eulogize the day before that day, nor the day afterwards. When it's a day that you simply don't fast on that day, but you're allowed to eulogize, the fun of lacharav mutter, you're allowed to fast the day prior and the day following. Rabbi Yossi Omer the fun of also lacharav mutter, whereas Rabbi Yossi says when you're at these days that you don't fast on, also the day before you don't fast on, but the day afterwards you're allowed to fast. And goes in Taanis al tzibur batchila b'chamishi. We don't initially kick off fasting on a Thursday, so as not to drive up the prices, because the store owners, all of a sudden people are coming and buying all this food because they need for a Thursday night meal and a Shabbos meal, and the store owners don't know that, and they just see that people are all of a sudden frenzying to buy food, and they're going to think that there's a famine coming and they're going to increase the prices. So in order to prevent that situation, so we don't commence fasting on a Thursday, rather on a Monday. Ella shalosh tanios harishon sheni v'chamishi v'sheni. Rather, the first set of 3 fasts are a Monday, Thursday, Monday. V'shalosh tanios chamishi sheni v'chamishi. Whereas according to the Tanna Kama, the next set of 3 fasts would pick up where they left off on Thursday. Rabbi Yossi Omer kshem she'en harishonos b'chamishi kach lo shnios v'lo achronos. Whereas Rabbi Yossi's opinion is that no, just like the first set of 3 fasts commences on a Monday, so also the second set of 3 fasts commences on a Monday. Oichit, it doesn't start on a Thursday, according to Rabbi Yossi. Ein gozun Taanis al tzibur b'rosh chodashim Chanukah v'Purim. We do not decree a fast day on the congregation on Rosh Chodesh, not on Chanukah and not on Purim. V'mischilu en mafsikin. Now, if they had already started, so kilu, if the fast was already prior to that. We had an example recently where, let's say, they made up to fast every Monday and Thursday, and then a Monday ends up being Rosh Chodesh. So if that's the case, then we don't interrupt the fast cycle. Rabbi Gamliel Omer, Rabbi Gamliel, that's Rabbi Gamliel's opinion. Omer Reb Meir, says Reb Meir, Af al Pisha Omer Rabbi Gamliel Ein Mafsikin, even though Rabbi Gamliel says that we don't interrupt the fast schedule if it falls out on a Rosh Chodesh, on Chanukah, on Purim, Moda Hayesh Ein Mashlimin. Rabbi Gamliel would nonetheless admit that you would not complete the fast on those days. Also on Tisha B'Av, when it falls out on Erev Shabbos, you would not complete the fast. In fact, the Gemara say the Taanis Ketzad. So the Mishnah had said, so how do we do these fasts? That we bring the ark out to the public thoroughfare. Even on the first set of 3, we're already taking the ark out to the public street. We have a contradiction. Shalosh Taniyos Harishonis Vishnius, that on the first 3 and the second 3, Nichnasim Leveis HaKnesses, they would simply enter into the synagogue, and they would pray in the same manner that they would pray the rest of the year. So actually the first 3 and the second 3 were not that different than like we pray the rest of the year. Whereas when it comes to the last 7, and that at that point they would take the ark out to the public street. They would put dirt on top of the ark, and on the heads of the Nasi and the Avbezdin, and everybody would put dirt on their own heads. Whereas Reb Nosson says it wasn't dirt, it was ash. So we see that all this would happen on the last set of 7, not the sets of 3. So So Papa says that's true. Our Mishnah as well, when it mentions all these things, it's talking about the last 7. So it says Papa that our Mishnah is also talking about the last 7, taking out the ark, all this stuff. The last 7 fasts, not any of the sets of 3. Rosh Hanosi, they would put ashes on the head of the Nasi. The Nasi was like, I guess, the leader of the community. No saying Birosho, and then it says that everybody else would then put this ash on their heads. Ini, is this really so? We learn in the Brayso, Rabbi Omer, that when it comes to good things, so we start from the greatest person. When it comes to curses, when it comes to bad things, we start from the lower people. And therefore, why does it say that we first start by putting the ash on the head of the leaders and then on the people? But I thought when it comes to bad things, we start with the regular people. So b'gedula maskilim and agadol shenemar. How do we know that by good things we start from the greatest? Shenemar, as it says, Vayomer Moshe laharon, that Moshe said to Aaron, uleLazar ulisamar, and then to Elazar and his children. So we see that it started sort of with the highest people. And also when it comes to curses, we start with the lowest. That by the curse of the snake, by the Garden of Eden, so first the snake was cursed, and then Chava, and then Adam. So answer to Gemara, Hachashivusu ledidu da'amrei lehon atun chashivusu lemiboy olon rachme akuli alma. So the Gemara says actually the order in which we're applying ashes to people's heads actually does signify significance, right? Basically, when we say that we start with the Nasi, what we're saying is you as the Nasi are respected, that you're able, that we sort of put our faith in you and our trust to be able to pray for all of us, and therefore it's something of honor that the ashes are placed on his head first as the representative of the people. It's sort of the people expressing their trust. And what else is the word? I don't know what the word is. I don't know. Trust and I don't know what the word is. Trust and confidence in the Navi. in the Nasi, and therefore it actually is sort of a way of honor. So this isn't necessarily simply a curse kind of thing. It's also like a greatness kind of thing, and they're expressing that they have their confidence in him and their trust by putting ash on his head first. And everybody then puts ashes on their heads. So fact the Gemara, how come all the regular people are putting ash on their own heads, but when it comes to the Nasi and the Abezdin, other people put ash on their heads for them? How come when it comes to them, somebody else is taking ash and putting it on their heads? Because it's not comparable to be embarrassed by yourself than to be embarrassed by somebody else. You have the Nasi, the Bezdin, and another person is coming and putting ash on their heads. That's a significant thing. Whereas for the individual people, it's less so. So therefore, they just kind of put ashes on their own heads. But for to have the leader of the community and somebody else is coming and taking ash and putting it on their heads, it shows that it's a serious situation. Where do they put the ash? Amr Yitzchak b'makom tefillin. Rabbi Yitzchak says that they put the ash at the place of the tefillin, where you put your tefillin sharosh. That's where they put the ash. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Lasum la'avei le'tzion lo seisloem pe'er tachas efer. That for the once mourners of Zion, we're going to put glory in the place of where there was once ash, and tefillin are called glory, as it says pe'er chavosh alecha. And therefore tefillin are represented as glory, and we're saying that they would put glory in the place where there was ash. So we see that the ash goes in the place of glory, i.e. in the place where the tefillin usually goes. Friends, that was Daf Tezvav of Masechta Taanis. Friends, what do you think about Das Tezvav? Very nice, right? We started the second parak of Masechta Taanis discussing what the Gemara said was the 7 last fasts and how they would take out the ark to the street, and they would put ashes on the ark and on the heads of the leaders, and everybody would put ashes on their own heads, and they would have a special additional 6 prayers that they would add to the Shmona Esrei. They would blow shofar. We then saw machlokus between Rabbi Yoshua and the Chachamim regarding the Anshe Mishmar and the Anshe Beisav. That according to Rabbi Yoshua, that already in the first set of 3, the Anshe Mishmar would fast but not complete it, and the Anshe Beisav would not fast at all. And then the second set of 3, the Anshe Mishmar would fast and complete the fast. The Anshe Beisav would fast and not complete the fast. And finally, by the last 7, both the Anshe Mishmar and the Anshe Beisav would fast the entirety of the fast. Whereas the Chacham say that when it comes to the first set of 3, the Anshe Mishmar and the Anshe Beisav would not fast at all. The second set of 3, the Anshe Mishmar would fast but not complete the fast. The Anshe Beisav would not fast at all. And the last 7, the Anshe Mishmar would fast and complete it. The Anshe Beisav would fast but not complete the fast. We discussed the ability to drink wine in the Beis Hamikdash. The Anshe Mishmar are allowed to drink wine during the day, at night, but not during the day. The Anshe Beisav are not allowed to drink wine. The people who are working that day cannot drink wine at all, not during the day, not during the night. We said that anybody working in the Beis Hamikdash cannot get a haircut during the week, because you have to get a haircut before then in preparation. But on Thursday, you're allowed to get a haircut in order to prepare for Shabbos. We said that the days that are listed in Masechta Taanis, in what's it called, the Megillas Taanis, that we do not eulogize on them. So Tanna Kama says you don't eulogize on them, nor the day before, but the day afterwards you can eulogize. Rabbi Yossi says no, not the day before, not the day afterwards. And the days that simply you don't fast on them, so on the day before and the day afterwards you're allowed to fast. Rabbi Yossi says the day before you're not allowed to fast, the day afterwards you are allowed to fast. And we said also that we don't make a Taanis Tzibur on Rosh Chodesh, on Purim, on Chanukah, but if the Taanis preceded the fast, right? Let's say, for example, you're going to fast every Monday, Thursday, and then it falls out on Rosh Hashanah, so then you would fast, but you would not complete it. Okay, fine. That's really kind of the main things, right? We said that we would have other people apply the ash on the heads of the Nasi and the Beisav, because it's significant having somebody else put it on their ash. It kind of shows the gravity of the situation. I don't know, I just said somebody put ash on their heads. So it demonstrates the gravity of the situation. Friends, that was Daf Tezvav of Masechta Taanis. I hope, of course, you enjoyed it very much. Have a great day. Peace out.